second, fellas. Look at that skyline. That tower to the right of the Empire State Building is the Chrysler Building. Be nice to go up there for the view, wouldn't it? It was a warm, hazy day in May. Perfect for hiking across the Queensboro Bridge to Manhattan. On the plaza leading to the bridge, we passed a little man selling crazy carnival hats. And we were just feeling crazy enough to buy some. Tony got an explorer's helmet. Little Joe, Jojo the carnival man called him. Jojo got a Huck Finn hat. Ben bought nothing, hates hats. I'm the tall, skinny guy in the brown beret, white pom-pom. Pete's my name. But because I want to be a scientist, everybody calls me Doc. 40 minutes later, we were passing the lake in Central Park at 72nd Street. Jojo wanted to go rowing. I promised him that we would, on the way back. First stop, a wonderland in mid-Manhattan. A medieval castle rising stark against the 20th century. And housing not armor, but a vast collection of animals from all over the world. This is where the present meets the past. The American Museum of Natural History. It was here that our strange adventure began. We checked our knapsacks and entered the first corridor.
Hey, look at this! An Indian war canoe!
Yeah, it's nearly 65 feet long. Belonged to the Haida Indians off the coast of Alaska.
This must have been the fleet destroyer of its day.
It was their big weapon, all right. Keep right, Jojo, for Brontosaur Hall. Look at the size of that monster, will you? 20 feet high if he's a foot. Tony's enthusiasm was understandable. Brontosaurus was biggest of the dinosaurs. I decided to jot down a few notes in a new diary I'd prepared especially for this trip. That was the scientific way of doing things. I didn't mention it to the fellas. They only laughed, but seeing that giant skeleton loom before me that way made me feel, well, as though I were the archaeologist who first discovered him.
These are the footprints he left in the sand. Imagine going down to the beach someday and stepping into footprints nearly a yard long.
Jojo didn't realize it then. How could he? But his words of jest were soon to become a prophecy. We continued our way through Brontosaur Hall, passing skeletons of other monsters that roamed the earth side by side with Brontosaurus. This was Stegosaurus, a ponderous dinosaur that resembled an armored tank lumbering over Mesozoic plains 100 million years ago. Platyosaurus, limbs like a kangaroo, walked in a semi-upright position. Allosaurus, the grim hunter, caught as he appeared devouring his prey, an attitude shown even more vividly in a painting hanging on a nearby wall.
Boy, I'd hate to run into him on the street.
He was vicious, all right. But remember, not all these prehistoric monsters had his disposition. Look at that chart showing the family tree of dinosaurs. You'll see that by the time they died out, some 60 million years ago, these great lizards had evolved into several different branches. Some were meat eaters, but others, like the giant Brontosaurus, were strictly vegetarian. One group was even spoon-billed, like a duck. By now, we had entered the museum's great Jurassic Hall, showing another period in time, an era when the gentle spoonbills fled before the most dreaded creature of all, the king of dinosaurs, Tyrannosaurus Rex. By way of contrast, Protoceratops was a shrimp, not much larger than today's Cocker Spaniel. Most amazing of all, dinosaurs, like their modern descendants, the lizards, grew from little eggs. It makes you wonder whether lizards aren't related to birds. Prehistoric birds, like the giant pterosaur in this painting, looked like flying lizards. By the time you've seen all the displays and studied all the charts, you realize that man and mammals, the most highly developed creatures of our time, are actually newcomers to this planet. Earlier life was a lot simpler in form, and the farther back you go in time, the simpler life becomes. A few hours later, we returned to the main floor, exhausted. There was so much to see, and we'd seen it twice.
Hey, look at that medicine man.
What medicine man?
Up there, in the canoe. He seems to be staring right at us. It's scary, as though he's giving us the evil eye, or trying to hypnotize us from out of the past.
I couldn't get excited about a wooden Indian, not even an hypnotic one. All I could think about was the last note I made in my diary. The farther you go back in time, the simpler life becomes. And then it started, our journey to the beginning of time. I had promised Jojo we'd go rowing on our way back.
Last one in's a rotten dinosaur egg.
Hey, I want to row, you guys!
You're too little, Jojo. Let Ben and Tony row. You stay up front.
Ah, heck.
Don't be a Thorhead.
Say, there's a lantern up here. I'm going to hang it on the bow.
How long do you think we're going to be out here, all night?
Always be prepared when you go to sea, Doc. You never know what might come up. Oh, for the life on the open sea.
If Jojo's going to sing, I'm heading back for sure.
You wanted to row, didn't you? Okay, shut up and row.
I'm rowing. I'm rowing.
Look, there's a cave up ahead.
A cave? It couldn't... Say, it is a cave. Let's have a better look at it.
It's a cave, all right, and marked with an Indian hex sign, like the canoe we saw in the museum. Wonder what that means. Let's row inside. It won't hurt to explore a little. Gee, it's pitch black in here.
See, I told you to be prepared. I'm lighting the lantern.
Good boy, Jojo. But I don't think we're going to need it for long. I see daylight around the bend.
Sure enough. I guess this brings you out to the other side of the lake.
But when we emerged from the cave, we realized that we were not on the other side of the lake. We seemed to have entered a far greater body of water. In fact, we seemed to have entered a whole new world. Apparently, we had drifted into a great river, but which one? It was too wide for the East River, too deserted for the Hudson. It was like no river we had seen before, and its surface was coated with a peculiar crust.
It looks like ice. Spring? There'd be ice in May. It's gotten much colder, too.
It's ice, all right. Wow! And look at those mountains.
If we can cross that without an icebreaker, I'd like to know how.
We'll make it. Well, if we're going, we might as well be warm. Take that.
It never occurred to us to turn back. Our knapsacks carried sweaters, food, water, so why not push on?
We have to protect those big ears of yours. Come on. Hand me the lamp.